Hi Valusha, this is Nirali. Firstly, welcome to India today. It's my pleasure to have you here for a chat that I hope is going to be a good one.
Thank you, Nirali. It's wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, to begin with, I want to congratulate you for the fact that Crackdown 2 is doing tremendously well on OTT platform, that is Geo Cinema. I want to know, the response from the audience is definitely good. But I want to know what's the feedback that you have personally received for your character and the series in general.
Like you said, Crackdown is season 2 is doing really well, and I'm very overwhelmed with the response. I mean, I didn't expect the response to be so much for a negative character. I think moving from season 1 to season 2, people have related to the character, people have understood the character, people are invested in the journey of the character. And the amount of love that's coming for a pure ruthless assassin is wonderful. I didn't expect that, because I mean, the work that I've done prior to this, there were times when, let's say I did a character that was a little sweet and, more grass-rooted, earthy. I thought possibly the audience will connect to that, and there will be a lot of love for that character. But this supersedes anything and everything, and it's. I mean, it's wonderful. The fact that I'm killing people and I'm this ruthless ISI agent who doesn't give a damn about anything or anyone and is only true to her mission, who's getting so much of love by the people, and people are actually following her graph, which is fantastic. People want to know if Crackdown season 3 is already in the making, and they want to know where this journey of my character, move on from here. So it's only when people are so invested that you realize, okay, it's had an impact.
Yeah.
People have watched it, they are loving it.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, people have been able to relate to your character. Tell me, as an
Yeah.
actor, how satisfying is that, when people message you or say fans DM saying, saw your character and we could relate to it. How satisfying is that for you as an actor?
I mean, that's everything for an actor. That's what we work for, right? And even if we give 100%, if the audience is not, there is no reaction from the audience, or there is uh, positive, negative, or anything. It's not from the audience. It's no feedback to us then, and but only when we get to hear from the audience their views, what they really loved about it, what they didn't like about it, what they are looking forward to, that's when you know that you've managed to strike a connection. And as an actor, there is no better gratification than that. Audience is king, and especially with the OTT audience who so knows what they want. And today you sit with a remote in your hand, so if the content needs to be something that you like. We need to, as actors and as directors, challenge the audience challenges us, in fact, with giving them content that keeps them engaged. Because what's to say that they won't flip and go to the next series, or watch the first episode and say, well, okay, we're not interested in what the second or the third or the fourth or the eighth for the
It's
has in store. So I mean, it's so gratifying when you know that you've managed to give the audience something that they love, and they're invested in.
So my question to you is, like you mentioned, this is a negative character, and sometimes playing a negative shade or a gray shade can take a toll on an actor's well-being. Did that happen to you as well while the shoot?
No, I think not at all, actually. I think what happens is sometimes, as human beings as well, we have to be so controlled with what we say, when we say, how we say, keeping sentiments, people's sentiments and emotions in mind. So sometimes you get frustrated, you might get angry, and you're just not able to express it. So I think with Crackdown, that just gave me the freedom to express and channelize everything, I think, into this character. So no way, it was not like taxing or like an emotional burden, not at all. I enjoy my job, so this was not difficult for me at all, because again, in terms of expression, it is so loud in a
Yeah.
way that is so free. If you're talking about a character like I did in Tanav, which is a lot more controlled in nuances in the way she speaks and stuff, I think that is a lot more difficult, because you have to be a lot more controlled, at the same time deliver the emotion. Here, it wasn't really so the case.
But were there any kind of challenges that you faced while portraying this character? Apart from that, it was not mentally taxing for you. How different was this character for you from the previous season?
So I think with Crackdown, given the fact that it is an action genre, right?
Hmm.
So that itself is taxing on an actor. It's
True.
physically taxing. I don't think this role was mentally taxing as opposed to being physically taxing. It's very much like choreography, like a
Hmm.
dance choreography, right? So every action sequence is choreographed, and you have to move exactly to the choreography, because if you don't stick to it, there's a possibility of you getting hurt or another actor getting hurt and getting very badly injured. I mean, like that did happen to me when I tried to do like a crazy kick, and
Hmm.
I landed badly on my ankle and I had a ligament tear. So that
Hmm.
3 weeks took me off my foot. So
Hmm.
yes, it's physically taxing. These are the challenges when you're certainly shooting, an action genre. Again, how your the weapons that you use, you have to be careful that you just don't hurt yourself and the actors that you're working with. So in that sense, you have to be very aware, you have to be very physically aware of what you're doing. So I think that is a challenge itself.
Yeah. But like you mentioned earlier, people are already waiting for Crackdown season 3. I want
Yeah.
to ask you, is there any plan by the makers then to, create the next part, and how different is going to be from the previous seasons?
Well, I mean, for a season one, then season two, that's
Yeah.
done phenomenally well. I think it would justify a season
Hmm.
three.
Yeah.
The whole story, the whole plot has got so many twists and turns. We can take the story pretty much anywhere, or we
Yeah.
can take it possibly to the backstory. There's so
Yeah.
much that one can do with this, and I think the fact that it's received so much of love, people are already curious about the season three. They're already curious about which characters move on to season three, which characters survive this season. So it's endearing to see all of that. The responses. So of course, it would definitely warrant
Yeah.
the makers thinking of a season three.
That makes pretty much that makes sense.
Yes.
Yes, but also, Valusha, it's been like 7 to 8 years that you have been in the entertainment business. Today, when you look back at the journey that you have had in Bollywood and the OTT space, which moments of your career do you feel were your highest highs, and which one were the lowest lows for you personally?
Well, I think every opportunity I get is my highest high. I can't differentiate between any of them. It wouldn't be fair for me to say that Crackdown was the highest high and Tanav wasn't, because I portray such different characters everywhere, whether it's Escape Life, Tanav, season one of Crackdown, season two of Crackdown, moving forward, all the work that I have. I think they're just wonderful opportunities, and especially working with OTT and this platform, it gives you an opportunity to play different roles. It's not so confining. It's not, it's not so, oh, so we only see you playing these characters. That does not happen. So as an actor, it's a great time. Also, scripts are being written for women, whether it's
Hmm.
Shefali Shah, whether it's Sushmita Sen. I think they're doing some phenomenal work, and central characters to a plot. The whole plot revolves around them. So it's a great time for an actor.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when we talk about OTT platforms, these days the debate is that whether there should be a censorship on OTT or not, or whether the filmmakers should be given the liberty that they want to have on the platform. What are your opinion on this?
I think, well, see, the thing is, OTT it's a completely different expression, if you ask me.
Hmm.
There's a lot of freedom for to think and to execute. And I mean, if we're going to start censorship, where does it begin and where does it end? Um, it is a streaming platform for people
Hmm.
across the world. So are we also going to censor you know the content that's coming from all over the world?
True.
For me, I just feel, are we being regressive, or are we moving forward with time? What are we doing? What are we telling our children, or what are we telling people in our country? It is, I mean, yes, we have to be responsible, uh, there is a huge responsibility as well. If with educating the audience, there has to be that healthy balance, 100%. But I feel like with films, we have characters and superstars that are larger than life, and we have the audience that actually idolizes them and therefore thinks that a certain action is right, or a certain emotion is correct. And I think that is largely for a very different platform entirely. Like I said, I mean, it's the characters, I mean, the stars are mega stars, they're larger than life. What they wear is important and is followed and becomes a trend. What they say becomes a trend. So I think there needs, you have to be a little careful with what you're imparting to the audience. But I feel the audience and the consumer with OTT is completely different. I don't think so I don't know where one draws the line. I mean, are we going to censor every content that's coming into the country? Because there's a lot.
There's a lot. There's a whole lot of content that's being made across the globe.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
think I think a healthy balance of letting that content be as is, but at the same time educating our population. I think that is our biggest problem, right? That is the root to most of our problems, or So I think it has to be a balance. Like you don't let's start educating our audience. Let's start educating our population. Let's give them the tools to be the masters of their own lives. Let's think about, that's a very important conversation. Why are we not empowering our population with choices that they can make? Why are we imposing choices on them?
absolutely. That's a valid point that you have put forward. But also taking you back to the time you entered in this industry with Frank. Tell me, how was it liking with Shah Rukh sir? And initially, when you work with a megastar like him, do you feel do you have any inhibitions while working with him? Or it's kind of a comfortable space that you work with him and you share screen space with him?
I think Shah Rukh made it seem like it was just an everyday thing. So I think because he made it seem and made me feel so comfortable, that I didn't even realize the magnitude of what I was getting into. Today, when I look back, I'm thinking, my God, really, this is what I did. Because he didn't make it seem like that. I mean, so humble as a man, so charming, so, I mean, with the way he presents himself. Again, so very down to earth, always spoke about his children, so enduring, worked so very hard that, you just forget in that moment that this is a mega star. You completely forget that. So charismatic. I mean, all these things come into the forefront,
Forefront, yeah.
and then of course somebody who's working so hard, he's the superstar. One would think, oh, it just comes very easy. Sure, it might come easy, but to maintain that superstardom,
For years and years.
yeah, is a lot of hard work. So I think those are the things that came to the forefront, that for me, I didn't even realize what I was getting myself into.
Yeah. But also, before doing this chat, I was reading one of your interviews and I happened to come across an unknown fact about you that you were not initially named Valusha. You had a name that started with W. I'm not able to pronounce that name, but if you could share something about how you were named that and how did it change to Valusha?
Um, something, my parents have never answered this question. And because I was called Valusha from the time unknown, I think from the time I was out of my mother's womb, I was called Valusha. And that's a really sweet, rounded name. And then my mom just wanted to give me my grandmother's name, which is a German name.
Yeah.
And none of my friends in school, my teachers in school, nobody could pronounce that name. So I don't blame you, because it's a very harsh name. It's called Waltraud.
Yeah,
So
Waltraud.
Waltraud, it's a very unusual German name. It's very harsh. It does. I don't look like a Waltraud at all.
Not at all.
Whenever, I mean, in school, it was always a task to tell my teachers, no, don't even attempt it. I'm Valusha. Let's just stick with that. So yeah.
That's the backstory of it. How you were always called Valusha, and that was just for the time that you were named.
It was just a formality. I think they just wanted to put it down on paper, but they never called it that. So it's very confusing.
Yeah, that's true. But thank you so much for doing this interaction. It was lovely speaking with you. I wish you all the luck
Thanks.
for the upcoming projects that you will have to offer to your audience and fans.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Thanks a
Nirali.
lot. Thank you.